Hi, I'm Terry Kelly in End of the Rainbow at the Arvada Center, and you're watching In Focus.
Welcome to In Focus with Eden Lane.
Hi, I'm Eden Lane. Thanks for joining us on In Focus. Tonight we have a very special behind-the-scenes look at the Arvada Center as they bring the regional premiere of End of the Rainbow to life on their main stage. It's a play with music rather than a musical, so it's a big risk to put this on their main stage, and it's a wonderful chance for us to watch them create it from scratch. We're there from the very first day. The work began months in advance with artistic producer Rod Lansbury taking on the role of director for this production and meeting with the heads of all of the departments involved at the Arvada Center. All that work led up to the first day of rehearsal. The Arvada Center volunteers host a meet and greet luncheon so the new cast can meet the entire local support team. Then the cast and creative team gather around a table to read through the script for the first time together.
6, 7, 8. Yep, just the first day. Lots to rehearse.
Lights up.
It's smaller.
No, it isn't. They're all the same size.
How would you know?
Because I asked.
Then they lied to you. I've stayed here before. This room has shrunk.
You remember the room? Half the time you don't even know what city you're in.
It's the little things I remember, not the big picture.
Let's not debate this.
It's a room for midgets.
Can we change the subject?
Oh, darling, change what you like. I can carry on by myself for hours.
Sure you can, but I know how to shut you up.
Will you marry me?
We already had that conversation.
Oh, yes. So we did.
You need to unpack.
Oh, honey, I don't do that. I have people.
Not anymore, you don't.
Oh. Well, then, I think it might be time for you to unpack.
Judy.
I just want to make sure nothing else in this hotel has shrunk.
Hello! Oh, sorry.
Anthony, is this your room?
Oh, no, it's yours. I was in the bathroom.
You're sleeping in the bathroom. We have to pay you more.
Please.
We were invited back only a few days later to sit down with the cast and the creative team. We begin with the musical director David Nels, Alan Bennett doing the musical staging, and director Rod Lansbury. Well, I'm so excited that we're getting this really early visit throughout the process of creating End of the Rainbow at the Arvada Center. Thank you for allowing us this kind of access while you're busy trying to do your work with the cast. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Our pleasure.
We have to begin with, I know why I loved this play with music, when it was on Broadway, and I was thrilled when you announced that it was going to be part of the season, and it's the main stage production.
Correct.
How did that happen? What was it about End of the Rainbow that made you believe in it enough, not only to produce it, but to put it on the main stage?
Well, I think there's always an allure to Judy Garland, always has been, still is. But this one took a different approach. Instead of it being a full-out musical concert combination, this gave you a very solid book as well. Mm-hmm. So that combination and back and forth between what occurs backstage, or as we refer to as behind the curtain, you have the story, but it's not the story that you've heard over and over about Judy Garland. We all know the background and the pills and the difficulties, and this gives you a different view as it takes place approximately 6 months before she passed away.
Since it's a play with music and not a musical that you typically do on the main stage, how does that change your role for this production, David?
It changes it a lot. It's such a different process because we're used to having, 20, 30 people in here. Now we have 4 people in here, and it's very intimate. The music is very familiar to everybody. The arrangements that we have are the actual arrangements that Judy Garland used, which is really, there's something holy about it as a musician and as somebody who has respected this music and Judy Garland, So to have that opportunity to recreate some of those experiences that people had back when she was alive is amazing. And you approach it in a different way than you would a big technical musical. There's a lot more give and take. There's a lot more collaboration with the performers.
And it's not necessarily forwarding the narrative in the same way that most of the main stage productions here
True.
do.
Though there is in a couple of these numbers a little bit of underlying subtext going on throughout the number that maybe you wouldn't get even as a concert goer seeing her.
So it takes a lighter hand in terms of producing the sound that we're going to hear.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
He mentioned that it was almost a holy kind of reconstruction, and part of that is the role that you're playing in this. You're not billed as a choreographer, you're billed as the musical stager. What's the difference? What does that mean?
Well, I think for our purposes for this show, my job is to evoke Judy without creating a drag version of Judy Garland. We don't want Terry to be a copy of her. We want her to be her with Judy on top of that. Do you know
She's
what I
an
mean?
actor playing this
Exactly,
character, not
exactly.
an imitation.
So as I put together the numbers, remembering that Judy mostly just stood there and sang, I wanted to theatricalize some of the music a little bit more, so she has a little bit more movement, but we are also telling a story. In every piece we see how the piece reflects what's happening on stage, and the movement helps her tell that story.
And you're not new to this piece.
I'm not new to this piece, no.
So tell me about your history with this piece.
I was hired in New York to teach the understudy what Tracy Bennett had set for herself. And the process was very interesting because Tracy's background was as a dancer and the understudy's background was not. So I took the information and then transferred it onto her and then changed it in a way that maintained where Tracy was spacing-wise on the stage, and with the mic cord, which is a whole...
That's another character.
Exactly, it is, it really is. Because there's a pager for all of those things off stage who needed to have the same give and take with the mic cord.
Tell them what you mean when you say a pager.
A mic cord, for those of you who don't know, is a grippy long cord, and as she moves back and forth on the stage, someone has to pull and let go so that there's just enough give in the cord so that she doesn't trip.
But create a spaghetti.
Exactly.
How is this playing into your adaptation for the Arvada Center's production?
Well, I personally, I think we all feel lucky that Terry's here, but I personally feel very lucky because a lot of singers don't have that ability. A lot of women who are going to sing the way we want to hear Judy sing don't have the ability to move well and facilely, and Terry completely does. So yesterday we set the medley, and I set it in an hour because she was so able to take that information so quickly. With another actress, it would take a longer time and it would change for another actress. Again, very lucky that Terry can just walk in and go, oh, I totally know what that is. And she's done her research as well. I guess we're very lucky in this age of YouTube where you can find a billion different videos and watch them endlessly.
You don't have to go to the Museum of Television and Broadcasting.
Exactly.
How is this impacting your staging of the musical segments as opposed to the way you saw it before in London and in New York?
Well, as with most things that I do here, even if I've seen the show, I try to block it out. And again, that time period of about 2.5 years, I remember elements of the show. I don't remember specifics. And with any piece I work on, I don't want to see it. I don't want to watch it before I do it. So even watching YouTube clips of Tracy Bennett doing it, I avoided them. I wanted to create a real situation so that it's natural on stage, and then that juxtaposition of that actual book part of the staging through the concert scenes, there's a distinct difference, because even her approach, her life, when she was on, she was on.
Yeah.
And that makes a big difference in the flow of the piece. So making that transition clean and yet having a distinct difference between the two is a different way from what how I approach a show.
And of course, the musical numbers occur in the moment on stage, in the hotel room, and sometimes we're seeing a glimpse of the performance. How How is that for you, having to make it look as though we're seeing something so casual as a rehearsal and a performance? How is that working for you?
You know what? It's weird because in most musicals you're doing a polished something, you know, and in this one you're having to really stretch and show the audience all facets of what happens while this woman is getting ready to perform, while she is performing, after she's done performing and has had too much to drink. You know, there's a lot of elements going on. So I think the challenge is to make it all very appropriate to the moments in the play while still making it visually exciting for an audience to watch. So, I mean, you know, if something is going a little awry, like it does in Act 2, spoiler, and you know, it still needs to be compelling for the audience to see.
And something about the sound, I mean, when we come to see main stage productions at the Arvada Center, we're used to hearing a full
it's going to be very different. It's going to be, you're still going to hear, I mean, look, it's a 7-piece band, including the actor who's playing the piano.
So sometimes we're hearing the actor doing the accompaniment.
He will be playing. I'm very excited. Apparently in New York, the guy didn't actually play, but we have an actor who is a great piano player. It's like a working vacation for me, honestly. It's great. He's able to pick up all of the concert stuff, and then the things that happen off stage I'll be playing. And the band is going to be in front of the audience. So it's reminiscent of when we did the 1940s radio hour a few years ago, but I think it's a little more contained because that was a 13-piece band, and this will be a smaller.
Seven pieces.
And it will be like you're seeing a live performance in the 1960s. You know, we're not looking at over miking things and doing this massive sound design like we would do for a normal musical these days. We're trying to keep it a little bit more like 1968.
Yeah, it definitely remains in the period. And
maybe like we're seeing a taping of a television special.
It would be. It's actually based on. She actually did do this concert in London at this time, and as with multiple times, it was another attempt at a comeback. So keeping it true to the period and the style is very important and reinforces the story and her character.
I know we're here very early in the process. You've had a week.
6 days.
6 days. But this cast, as you alluded to, came really prepared already.
Yes.
She was almost off book on that first day.
It's true.
So tell me, if you can, what has changed for you from the day before you arrived at that first meet and greet, and where you see End of the Rainbow at the Arvada Center today?
There's always that trepidation prior to a rehearsal. All three of us have done extensive work and research, and you have elements in your head of what you want to accomplish. But you also have to realize that until you have the performers and you realize how they work, what their abilities are, what their style is, you need to make those adjustments in our approach as well. You still try for the same goal, but you may approach it differently. So that first day is really very much a learning process. Actually, the first 3-4 days, as you start to learn how they work. This cast came in extremely prepared, but as I speak with them prior to their arrival, after they've been cast, and one of the things I always ask is, please feel free, learn the music, learn this dialogue, don't set anything. Because I mean, it becomes very difficult if they have things set in their head, and I, as a director, as a choreographer, as a musical director, if you have to break that down and make it go away so you can get what you need. So, and they were all excellent and so good at doing that. They came in strong, but they were willing to learn and move ahead.
Well, I know you're still in the beginning stages of this discovery process, and to have the chance to come in and share it with you in this small way is really a thrill, and I really appreciate this privilege. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Her Broadway credits include Showboat, The Boy from Oz, and Anything Goes. Here's my visit with the star of End of the Rainbow, Terry Kelly. Come in here this early in the process and follow along with all of you. That's
it's
really
great to
very
have
trusting.
you here. It's really great.
I really appreciate it because not every group is so brave to let us glimpse the process. And it's really quite fascinating. The first thing that stuck out to me when they announced it was you, of course we had to look up so many things that you had done, and we loved them. But on that first day, you were practically off book.
Oh yeah, I am. I wanted to come in. There was so much stuff, there's just so much. She talks all the time, and I wanted to have a really, really good jumping off place for that, so I can explore her and be true to her and be true to the piece and be true to playing someone who had her issues, So.
When we look at some of the other things that you've done, they're a little, more fun than this has the propensity to be.
Yes.
What was it about playing Judy Garland in End of the Rainbow that made you grab it this way?
Well, I've always liked her. I mean, I don't think you can be in this profession and not know who she is or not have respect for her as a musician and as an actress. And since I was a little girl and first saw her as Dorothy, I really identified with her, and I used to wear my hair in braids, and that, I always thought, oh my gosh, I kind of look like her because of the big brown eyes. So it was really nice to see someone who I could identify with looks-wise, And then as I got older, I really identified with the way she interpreted a song, and I really, really latched onto that. So when I heard that they were doing this on Broadway a long time ago, I was really excited about it. And when I saw it, I thought, oh, I will play that part one day. I really want to play that part. Yes, definitely thought, oh, that's for me. And it just kind of happened sooner than I thought it would. So that's great. I'm really excited about it.
So when you saw the notice in backstage, or your agent told you, or however that came to you, what was your reaction that moment you walked into that audition, knowing that you said when you saw it you would play this part one day?
Well, at first I thought, well, I'm still probably a little on the younger side.
Yes.
So maybe, at least I'm gonna go in, and this will be the first of, many times I'll audition for it probably. But then I just really connected with the piece, and I don't know, it was just something really special about it, and I felt when I was in the audition that it could actually happen, and I'm really excited that it did.
For you as an actor, we have seen you do musical theater a lot.
Yes.
This isn't really musical theater. This is a play with music.
True.
But you still have to be able to do all of that. But how is it different for you as an artist to focus, have the storytelling focus more on your acting than on your performing in a musical piece?
For me, it's so fulfilling because there's so much more there in the scene work that, and in a musical, the scenes are truncated. There's so much more you have to try to squeeze into.
Because the story is often told or carried forward through many of the numbers.
Exactly. So as an actor, you hunger for something this rich and this full of emotion. So for me, it's a fabulous treat to be able to feel this creative and this. I feel very fulfilled when I go home at night. Let's put it that way.
How is it affecting your process, or is it affecting your process about unfolding this character?
Oh.
When you play in a musical theater piece, you might have one standard way of working that helps you uncover your character because so much of it is relying on the musical number. Is it different for you, and if so, how?
I don't find that it's that different. The thing that's different about this piece and other pieces is there's so much about Judy Garland, so there's so much to draw on from that. Whereas when I'm in a musical, I can kind of come up with my own backstory and kind of form stuff, on my own. But with this, there's so much already there. So that's the difference here,
Yeah. As you're performing the songs, of course, we expect a certain kind of phrasing and a sound.
Sure.
And that would be very different than the kinds of things that you may have done in the past. How are you finding that voice? How are you finding that phrasing?
Well, a long time ago, when I was a few years younger, probably about 10 years ago, maybe a little more than that, I auditioned for Little Voice, a show called Little Voice. And I thought, oh, I have to learn how to do Judy Garland. And I found out that I just could do it. I'd listened to her and did it, and so that's something that I've always kind of had in my back pocket a little bit. So that's been great for me, and like I said, as a performer, I've always listened to her, so her phrasing makes sense to me as an artist, and but I've been doing a lot more of that lately, listening to her, and I really want to stay true to that and not go too far into the realm of imitation.
Because this isn't
No.
an imitation show.
No.
You're playing a character.
Exactly. I want to be enough like her that it reminds people of her, you know, and doesn't pull them out of the story, but not be an exact replica of her, because then it's just I'm not going to inhabit her, you know.
I know it's still really early in this discovery process. It's only 6 days
Right.
of work in the room.
Right.
What has been a surprise or something that revealed itself to you so far about playing this character?
How fragile she is, you know, just trying to, because I am not that not that fragile physically or, you know, mentally or emotionally, and figuring out how, you know, just seeing how quickly she seems like a strong person, and then she just crumbles immediately. I mean, that's something that, you know, as you're memorizing lines, you don't necessarily latch onto. And as we're working through things more, I those transitions where she just completely crumbles in a second, it's really pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since you're here away from your home, working on a piece that has a lot of moments that are quite emotional, quite heavy,
Yes.
a little bit dark. Is it difficult for you as the artist to be alone in the evening when you've been working on
I'm
this
not
all
alone.
day?
I have my cat with me.
I like that.
No, it's actually not so bad, not yet. I mean,
Not
we'll
yet.
see as it gets into more of a, as we're running it more, you know. But I have a really great support system. I have my mother who I talk to every day, and my beau, who is very, very supportive and so excited and proud of me. So that also, you know, helps. And I talk to him every night. So
Will he come?
oh,
Will
he
your mom
yes.
come?
Oh, they will both be here. Yes.
I can't tell you how excited I am from the moment they announced that this was going to be on the season, on the main stage.
Yes.
And then just that first day of watching you, the way you came prepared for this role, I'm even more excited to see your
good.
opening.
Oh, I'm so glad.
And it's so gracious of you to share some of this discovery process with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here.
We have an extended look at rehearsal during our streaming and web extra edition. But now we're joined by Terry's castmates in End of the Rainbow at the Arvada Center. Her accompanist, Anthony, played by Jonas Cohen, Zachary Clark, who plays her fiancé, Mickey Deans, and Josh Robinson, who plays the BBC interviewer and author. Well, as we've been saying all morning, it's a great privilege to get invited into the process, especially this early while you're putting together this work for the Arvada Center. I really appreciate the trust that you're showing us, letting us visit you.
It's a pleasure just to have you, bring us to the people.
Yes, I cannot wait to see what you do. That first day of rehearsal was thrilling because you all arrived so prepared already, as we were talking about before. So tell me, what was it about coming to the Arvada Center for this production of End of the Rainbow, this play with music, that really appealed to you? What made you want to be in this show?
The money.
Sometimes it is that, isn't it?
The story of this, and it's sort of timely, isn't it? I had found out that I was going to be working on this show, and it wasn't long after that Philip Seymour Hoffman died, rather untimely death from a drug overdose. And it was very, I think for a lot of actors, we had discussed this amongst ourselves, how sort of devastating it was. None of us knew him, I don't think any of us knew him personally, but it really hit home. And, there is a parallel there, isn't there, between when Judy Garland passed from her drug overdose and how it really, 20,000 people filed past her coffin after she died. It was a big, big loss in the artistic community and for the world to lose someone like that. And it seemed, no one could have anticipated that something like that would happen, but it was very timely that something like that happened, and it really resonated. And it was like, wow, this is a story that, I just can't wait to tell. I don't want to focus on the dark aspect of it.
Well, it is a dark story.
Yeah, and it emotionally suddenly resonated anew.
It's terribly sad, but it's also very, very fascinating, and it is timely because we have starlets, young starlets, who we watch them come apart at the seams. In this business.
It's become sport to watch them do that.
There's a morbid fascination to it, and it dates back to to Judy, and then it goes forward to, I think Lindsay Lohan or Amy Winehouse, or those people who got into this business, and you watch it kind of fray them and shake them and kind of break them sometimes.
It's interesting that she's playing someone that we will all know. And the two of you aren't necessarily playing people that we may or may not know or maybe really existed or are composites, but you have a very different task in this production of sort of being the journeyman to help tell the story. What is that like for you to be immersed in this deep storytelling but have these very different kinds of duties?
I think it's a wonderful moment. I mean, judging by the costuming, I would say I bring some lightning to the play when I show up in my red polyester pants. But I've been excited. I didn't know the play before I started, but what I did know was the Arvada Center. I've worked here a number of times, but I haven't worked with Rod and David before, and so I've watched their artistry for the past few years just get tighter and tighter and tighter, and that's what was really exciting to me about this production.
To have the chance to come here and work with them finally. That's a great testimony to the kind of work that's done here, and the fact that they chose this show, End of the Rainbow, as a main stage show, I think is also a testament to their risk-taking.
Yes, definitely.
Tell me, what is it like for you now that we have your castmates with you? You have these three dashing men with you, and they're all you have.
It's wonderful.
What more does she need?
I'm not complaining.
In only 6 days, it seems as though you have all really gelled quite nicely. Do you know each other before this?
No, we read together. The three of us all read together in New York, funny enough. So that's the only
the extent of our.
It.
Yeah.
I don't know that one.
What's your name again?
Rehearsal does that, I feel like it's,
In 6 days?
I mean, even
in a piece like this. Too.
Yeah, especially when it's like, I mean, I know for me, like, it's like we're diving right into some heavy things, some pretty intense scene work.
And some salty language.
And not just,
yeah.
No, not for me.
I'm so grateful that you're letting us peek in, and I know we're going to see a little bit more today, so thank you so much for letting us interrupt you today.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And now a look at the first run-through of one of the medleys from End of the Rainbow.
You made me love you. Clang, clang, clang with the trolley. Ding, ding, ding with the bell. Sing, sing, sing when my heart strings. From the moment I saw him, I fell. And as if it were planned, he stayed on with me, and it was grand to stand, his hand holding mine, to the end of the line.
Then just 2 weeks later, the cast is already on stage for technical rehearsals and publicity photos. It's an impressive amount of work in a very compressed time frame. Now a glimpse of Terry Kelly as Judy Garland in End of the Rainbow at the Arvada Center.
No more doubt or fear, I found my way. For love came just in time. You found me just in time and changed my lonely life that lovely day. This is dedicated to you, my angel. Now you're here, and now I know just where I'm going. No doubt or fear, I found my way. For love came just in time. You found me just in time and changed my lonely life.
Arvada Center's production of End of the Rainbow is a regional premiere, and it only runs through April 13th. You can find all the details on their webpage, arvadacenter.org.
Remember to join us on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks for watching. Good night.
Snugglebug.